time for another big interview on G Sport, and today we are in Cape Town to chat to one of our winners of the 2019 Momentum G Sport Awards. It's the Women in PR and Sponsorship winner, Marisa Calvert. What an honor to chat to you, and I'm sure different for you to be on that side of the camera.
Yeah, it is. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Congratulations. I'm sure I've said this before, but on winning that award, what did it mean to you?
It was, I can't even describe it because it felt really good to finally be recognized. I know that the sport or the sports PR world itself, for women of color especially, is so niche, and yeah, I came to work with my very heavy award. It was amazing. It's on my desk at the office so that when clients walk in, they know it's an award-winning publicist sitting here.
Yes,
so,
but also you do such good work. I mean, everyone can do the elite sport, but university sport is the growth area, isn't it?
Yes, and it's hard work. I mean, it's easy to get an elite athlete on a radio station or in a spread in a magazine, but it's the university sports athletes that you have to, they are the ones that you have to PR the most, because we know where they come from, what they do. It's easier access for anybody in the media. They'll tell you it's so much easier to call me to get an interview than it is to call someone else for an elite athlete, because there's sponsors, there's a lot of red tape. So yeah, and it's really nice to see my children grow.
It is, I'm sure. So tell the people who are watching, who do you work for, and how does it happen that you actually have become the face of varsity sport PR?
So I work for Awesome, Advent Sport Entertainment and Media, which is a company owned by Francois Pinard, and it owns Varsity Sports, it manages Varsity Cup, and then Awesome Engage is the in-house agency. So the agency is as old as I am working there. So
yes.
I started there the same year that the agency started, which was in 2015. So we're 5 years old, and we've literally emerged ourselves in university sports. So anything university sports, we are the people, and we've now started venturing outside of home. We're doing the SA Gymnastics Federation now, just to get a little bit experience outside of our norm.
What is your advice to women in particular who want to get into PR? Because it sounds easy, doesn't it? But when you get in there, you realize that there's no 9-to-5 job.
No, there isn't. I always say, believe in yourself, trust your gut, and work hard. There's going to be a million no's, but there's going to be that one yes that's going to just push you forward. Never give up, because I've got a 3-year-old, and I've got a 38-year-old. So, and the 38-year-old is my fiance.
Yes.
So I've got 2 boys that I need to look after. But they know it's when I get home, it's phone calls, it's emails. It is making sure that when I close my eyes tonight, my to-do list is empty.
Yes.
Because when you wake up at 5 o'clock the next morning, believe me, there's about 3-4 items on your to-do list already. Because PR people, we don't sleep.
No, you don't. And the thing is, the story could break at any time of day.
Yeah.
How do you manage your time, knowing that at any time you have to drop everything and move on?
It's actually funny. I was running a marathon one day, and I got a phone call. I ran with my phone on because it plays music, and I answered the phone, and it was a Varsity Cup story, and I'm like, guys, okay, do you have time? Because I'm like 18 kilometers from the finish, and the journalist was like, what? Risi, are you running? I said, yes, but don't worry, just give me time. I'm gonna pull over, then I'm gonna get on it. So I don't know how I do it actually.
Probably the running. I think at the marathon running, I'm very impressed, by the way. I mean, the fact that you find time to train and then you go into competitive running. Why?
It's so I've got very serious anxiety issues. I've had it since I was a kid, and I've struggled between ADHD and anxiety and panic attacks and all of that. And running was the one thing that actually helped me cope with all of that. And because PR is such a big and demanding job, and clients want things at the drop of a hat, I needed something just to break everything, and running was the one thing. And then I fell in love with it, and then I got nice shoes and a Garmin watch, and then I started doing well.
Yes,
and
which then makes it something a little bit more than a novelty, right?
And then winning awards at the club for running. So it's like, oh, okay. So all of that. So it was like, okay, now I'm loving it. November, December is usually my break. So I am on a running holiday.
Okay.
And January start training for comrades.
You're actually doing comrades in 2020.
Actually doing comrades. I don't know why I did.
How has running assisted you in terms of improving mental health?
So I do long distance running. I don't run less than an hour a day, even when I train. Everything is longer than an hour. And I am disconnected from the world. It's me, it's the road. There's that movie, What Women Want.
Yes.
And he talks about, or he stole her idea of how women, when you hit the tar and it's just you and your thoughts, that is literally how I feel. Okay. If you look out here, these beautiful hills of Boca, this is where we ran. And it's just you and the road. Even though you're running with people, it's you and the road, and I don't have to worry about making sure that my son is eating. I know he is. Answering a phone call, it doesn't happen often, it happened at one time, but that, no Instagram, no Twitter, it's just me and the road, and taking in nature and talking to myself. I actually, there's a joke about me that I plan my week on a Sunday morning run.
Well, why not? I mean, as you say, you've got your own space, your own thoughts, without the distractions. But so many of us put so much pressure, particularly at this time of year. If we haven't achieved our goals, we're hard on ourselves. If we want to achieve more, we're too tired. How are you managing this end of year kind of vibe? Because PR is not stopping anytime soon, even though it's a quieter time.
Not really quiet. Sport doesn't stop.
Well, that's what I say to people. You may be on holiday, we're here to entertain you.
So, so like now I'm busy with the SA gymnastics, the inaugural Perfect 10 event that's happening on Friday the 13th. Then I'm staying in Joburg, and I'm actually, instead of having a holiday, I'm actually connecting with mentors in Joburg as well, so that I can meet up with people. For me, I try and take naps. It's very hard, but like I'm on holiday from running, so that's my nap time. So I sleep in, and I just do things with my family. So we've got a nice backyard. So it's my son in his little made-up bath, and just spending time with my family, because to me that feeds my soul. Just to spend time with him, and making time to be together.
So, who are your mentors? Because I firmly believe if you don't have mentors in this world, you're not going to go anywhere very quickly, because just that one phone call, one thought, one hug could change things for you.
So, the lady that actually got me into PR, Cassie Listen, so I was still an intern, or like very, very green. I was very green. It was like I was an account coordinator, where I'm at the director level now.
Yes.
You know. So she took me under her wing. Then there is Farah Fortune, that I absolutely
fantastic.
look up to.
The pit bull in heels.
The pit bull in heels. There's a lady from America, JQ, whom I interact with on Instagram quite often. So she does sports PR for university athletes.
Oh, great.
In America. So I chat to her on Instagram. I wish to go to America so I could meet her actually. She's doing absolute fantastic work. And then Deborah Barnes, who's now the race director for Two Oceans. So Deborah gave me my first gig in sports marketing. And yeah, so she's also one of the people that I'm still in contact with, that I still speak to. So there's a lot of them. All of them are women.
Well, isn't that amazing? Because it's about time. So often when I started my career, all my mentors were men.
Yeah.
Because there were no other female cricket commentators. But what is your advice to people to reach out to mentors? Because it's a little bit scary. I think people are so scared of rejection. What if she says no? How do you go about approaching someone for advice?
So I feel, be authentic. You have to be teachable. I'm 36 years old and I still learn every single day. Yeah. I don't know everything. My mentors don't know everything. We learn from each other. But you have to be teachable and send out that DM. Be bold enough to say, please follow back. I'd like to reach out to you. Find the contact details on the internet. Some of them own their own companies. There's email addresses. Reach out. When you find out about networking events, especially the free networking events, go go speak. Even if we are shy, they were in that same position. So
Yes.
we all, and everybody wants to hold a hand. And who am I if I'm going to shut the door for another woman to come through if my door was opened? So it was all about, we are all here to help each other, and we're not here to take away anybody's piece of the pie, because the pie is big enough.
I often say that. We're chatting to Marisa Calvert, who's the winner of the PR and Sponsorship Award at the 2019 Momentum G Sport Awards. Let's talk women's sport in particular. It's tough. I think the more PR we do, the more we realize there are gaps in women's sport. How have you seen the environment? What is your thoughts on the state of the women's game?
So it's actually quite sad when I look at it when, and I'm just going to use a current example with the Cape Town Sevens. So we are finally bringing in the women to play. They play a great game. I mean, we had the women play at the varsity sevens in October, the university girls. And if you don't know how women play rugby, if you haven't seen it, you have to make a plan to see it. This is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I look at it, I'm like, I wish I was as fit as you. I wish I had your legs. But they now change the fixtures. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and nobody's buying Friday because they think it's only the women playing.
Oh, wow.
And it is, and when you look at the comments, okay, we know the women, we know the men playing, we know the men playing, and I'm thinking to myself, here are people who are professional who's doing this, and nobody's supporting them.
And the last thing you want is an empty Friday and packed weekend where
Exactly.
then people start drawing the comparisons, which is so unfair.
Exactly, and yes, the men are also playing on Friday, and it's almost like they have to force the men to play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so that the women can play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and using the men to draw the crowd. And I feel we are quite behind in terms of women's sport. We're behind Australia, we are behind New Zealand, we're behind England. I support Chelsea Football Club. The women are doing amazing. And they've got, their women have got their own everything.
Yeah.
Own management, own coaches, own Instagram, own Twitter. They got their own fans.
They have a brand strategy
Yes.
that works specifically.
And I think that is where we are lacking in South Africa, is that we look at men and we're trying to imitate, we're trying to put the women next to the men.
When the systems are not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like with the women's football league, really love it. But where's the gap? Because I'm trying to understand how are sponsors not jumping on this. And I think also it's because they think it's almost like a charity, and women's sport is not a charity.
But also, if you have a specific commercial strategy for women's sport, you can sell it.
Yeah.
But if you're selling it after you're selling men's sport, they spend all their money on men's sport, and as you say, then they're like, oh well, let's give you a few rand, maybe you need
Exactly.
it. Yeah. So how do we improve it?
So for me, I always say, and I look at our models as well, all our commercial models, separate the two. Women's sport is women's sport, women's football is women's football. You have your own team that's working on that specific strategy. You don't get the commercial director of SAFA doing both. Shouldn't happen. Women's sport needs to be managed by people who are passionate about women's sport, and the sponsors will come in because they know who to speak to, they know who to reach out to. And I feel sponsors should also look at their strategies and say, you know what, let's invest a little bit here, because it's not making us look good, it's growing sport in South Africa, because we've got women who are participating in sport. These are people's livelihoods. It's very sad for me when I see a woman, professional South African player, still doing a 9-to-5 job, when the men, they get the endorsements from all these big corporates, personal endorsements, they're getting their cars, branded.
Retainer every month. It's all sorted.
Get their, okay, not anymore, but their weddings on all these nice shows, lifestyle shows, and these spreads. And it takes me back to 2005 when I was working in the radio industry, and I chatted to one of the presenters and I said, how does this Eat Magazine thing work? Because all I see is all these sportsmen, Olympic winners, and all of them in this, with all these beautiful women. Like, no, this is what the publicists do. They put them together because only a male sports star will get a spread. And it's like, okay, then that was 2005. We're now in 2019, and it's still, you don't see one without the other. It's always the man is selling. It's never a woman selling. So, and I feel media needs to change. Producers need to change, and it's a whole change in mindset where everybody works to towards one collective goal to make women's sport in South Africa grow. Not just a discipline, but the entire women's sport in South Africa.
I think you're playing a major role in that, because unless you're pushing hard enough at this level of university sport, you're not going to get the results that you need. Where do you go from here personally? Because we're heading towards the end of the year and we're heading into a brand new decade. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
I would like very much to eventually start my own agency. I am, I'm reaching that point where I'm so tired of traffic. But for me, it's like I need to understand the space as well. As I mentioned earlier, the sports PR women of color, it's like there's nobody in this. So I want to play on that, but for me it's still so important to push for women and youth sports, because that is where my passion lies. I've never been someone. It's easy to work with elite athletes, but they all prima donnas and so. But it's so easy to work with someone that has a name. But it's, for me, I find that personal, almost like that feel good, warm, fuzzy feeling when I see, oh, it's one of my kids that are now playing for the Proteas.
Yes.
That, and I mean, when they all sign up for and they get their contracts, I get excited. I'm on the phone phoning and congratulating, because it feels like, I've got all the info, and then what happens? People phone me. Do you have background info? Do you have the parents' phone numbers? Do you have
generally you do?
And then I do.
Yeah.
So and so that is where I see myself in 10 years. Have my own little agency with my youth and my women's sports, and hopefully drive women's sport even further, so that we become a force to reckon with the rest of our countries next door to us.
Well, keep championing women's sport, because I think you're doing a great job, and more than that, I think you're opening doors for women in PR. All the very best, and with the training for comrades, I'm backing you all the way.
Thank you.
Marisa Calvert is the winner of the Women in PR and Sponsorship at the 2019 Momentum G Sport Awards, sharing some key insights about mental health, about mentorship, and about the state of women's sport.